lopsided. Whatever, good enough. Nobody cares today. Alright, whatever. So, there's nobody in here. Oh, one person. Got one person. Okay. I don't know who's in here. Didn't see who came in. No one. Alright, so today I'm going to do a quick little scope here because I don't have a lot of time. So I have Reader's Digest here. I subscribe to Reader's Digest, and for their May issue, they decided to write a little bit about Lyme disease. So about a paragraph on Lyme disease, which is basically more than any other magazine is doing right now. So I'm going to read what they wrote about Lyme disease, and then I'm going to elaborate a little bit on it because I think there are a few things missing from this. So it says, explosion in Lyme disease ticks. According to the Journal of Medical Entomology, ticks that carry Lyme disease doubled their range in less than 2 decades and are now in nearly half of all U.S. counties, including those in new areas like Kentucky and Ohio. Lyme disease can cause flu-like symptoms and, if left untreated, neurological symptoms such as numbness. Prevent bites by avoiding thick vegetation, using repellent, and bathing after hiking. That's it. That's all they put about Lyme disease. So that's fine, I guess. If you want to just do a little nutshell about Lyme disease, but I think there's a few inaccuracies here. Hi, Pierre. Welcome. So I think there are a few inaccuracies with this article here. So I'm just going to kind of elaborate on this. So let's talk about, yes, ticks that carry Lyme disease double their range. Hi, Pierre. I just read a little article from Reader's Digest about Lyme disease. It's a teeny tiny little paragraph. If you can see it right here, this is their big article on Lyme disease. Hi, Silosh. Welcome. So I just read that, and I want to elaborate on that. So yes, it's true that ticks are spreading. Hi, how are you? Ticks are spreading, and they carry Lyme disease. They doubled their range in less than 2 decades. A lot of that has to do with global warming. The weather's becoming warmer and warmer, and ticks only reproduce in warm weather. So if you have warm weather year-round, exactly. Did the article come with a magnifying glass? Yes, I wish. And I would read the article over again, but it really doesn't say much. So yeah, warm weather is going to make ticks spread even more. Hi, Shane. Welcome. So it's believable, yes. Reader's Digest is correct. They are spreading to more areas because the weather is becoming more desirable for tick reproduction. Now, taking a bath after hiking, I don't think that that's going to make the ticks come off because ticks stick on your skin. You actually have to get tweezers. Actually, I think you have to get tweezers to take them out, but I don't think that's recommended either because you could break off a piece of the tick. So a bath is probably not going to do much to get the tick off. So that's kind of weird. One thing that they left out was something that I read a lot for tick prevention. Hi, Haylet. They say that you should wear light-colored clothing if you go into a wooded area, and you should tuck your pants into your socks so that they can't get to your ankles and your legs. And that wasn't in this article at all. So that's kind of weird. The biggest problem, though, with this article, and I'll read this piece again. Lyme disease can cause flu-like symptoms and, if left untreated, neurological symptoms such as numbness. It can cause a lot worse than that. So let's go down the list of some of the things that Lyme disease can cause that Reader's Digest missed. You're supposed to take the tick out with tweezers, put it in a plastic bag, and go to the doctor's right away. The doctor is supposed to send the tick out to be examined so that they could see if it does actually have the Lyme disease bacteria. I think this light is kind of interfering. And the tick gets examined to see if it actually has the Lyme disease bacteria. If it does, they treat you. They're actually supposed to treat you with antibiotics no matter what, regardless of what they find with the tick. Because if they get it right away, you know, you have a good chance of recovering and of not getting really super sick like I am. But that's supposed to be the protocol. You take it out with tweezers, put it in a plastic bag, go to the doctors. They give you 30 days of antibiotics, and in the meantime, they're examining the tick to see what's in it. Never happens, to be honest. But here are the neurological symptoms that can happen to you if you get Lyme disease. Or actually, not just neurological symptoms, all the things that can happen to you. And this is the short list. Yes, numbness is one of them, but it's, to be honest, the least of your worries. You can have shooting, stabbing pain in your arms and legs, your head. This pain can be as bad as post-surgical pain. So the pain that you get from this disease can be as bad as post-surgical pain. So if you come out of surgery and they don't give you painkillers, your pain can be that bad from a tick bite. Well, not from the bite, but some of the pain, the joint pain and stuff that you experience can be as bad as post-surgical pain. You can become paralyzed. There is a girl in San Diego. She's a newscaster. She went to bed fine one day and woke up the next day paralyzed from the neck up and the waist down. So basically she could move her arms, but she couldn't move from the neck up or the waist down. And I believe she was paralyzed for a couple of years because they couldn't find out what was wrong with her. Her blood tests came back negative for Lyme disease, and it took a really long time for them to figure out what was wrong with her. You could have seizures. You could have a stroke. I met a gentleman at my former doctor's office who had a stroke. And again, he was misdiagnosed. He was thrown from doctor to doctor to doctor. He said that doctors would literally push him out of the doctor's office because they were so tired of listening to him and not being able to find anything. He said he had a stroke, and he sort of had trauma from that because he was afraid to look in the mirror because that's how he had discovered that he had had a stroke, is by looking in the mirror when he was washing his face. And eventually they found out he had Lyme disease. Severe light sensitivity, and we talked about that on Sunday. You could have very, very severe light sensitivity. I heard of one other case that was actually worse than me. I read about it on the internet, where the girl literally had to stay inside a dark room all the time because any kind of light would give her a seizure. So she couldn't go out into the sunlight. She couldn't go out. She couldn't even, I think the only light that she could use was from her phone in the dark room. And that's how she would do homework. She was basically homebound, homeschooled, couldn't go to school, couldn't do any of that. And her cell phone was the only light that she could have in her room that wouldn't give her seizures. Like I said, I read about that. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I read about that on the internet, so I'm not sure exactly how true it is. But based on my own personal experience, it definitely could be real. You know, I tell people about my light sensitivity and they don't believe it. So it can definitely be real. I wouldn't doubt it. You can have memory problems. I read another story about another lady who forgot how to turn on her car. she would get in her car and sit there, and she forgot where to put the key into the car, and she actually had to call her husband and ask him, what do I do? Where do I put the key? Because she couldn't remember because of her Lyme disease. One time a few years ago, I think as I was going through treatment, or I think right before I started treatment, I was sitting in my apartment and I heard a phone ring. Yeah, it's crazy. I was sitting there and I heard a phone ring, and the phone was ringing, and I was like, wow, that phone sounds really, really close. And I was like, why do the neighbors have their phone on so loud? Like, I can hear it through the wall. Why is their phone so loud? They should lower the volume because I can hear it loud and clear. Why is their phone ringing? And I'm just sitting there, and I could hear it ring and ring and ring and ring until it finally stopped ringing. And all of a sudden, I get up and I realize it was my phone. I did not recognize my own ringtone from my phone. And I think that was probably one of the scariest things that happened to me, was sitting there and I heard the phone ring from beginning to end, and was sitting there wondering why the neighbors had their phone ringtone on so loud, that it was so loud that it felt like it was in the room with me, when it was actually my own phone. So you definitely have memory problems. I think that's one of the most common things with Lyme disease, is you just have loss of your short-term memory. You can't remember people's names, or you can recall their face, but you can't recall their name. I've had actually, and I don't know if this is related to my Lyme disease, but I've actually run into people that come up to me and they go, hey, what's up? And I can I can recognize, I think they tell me their name and I know the name, but I can't recognize their face. And then a while later, I'm like, oh, the memory of their face comes back to me. Yeah, it's actually kind of scary. After I realized that it was my own phone, and I went over and I picked up my phone and I saw that there was a missed call, I thought to myself, how is it that this phone was ringing for like a minute, and I hear my phone ring every day. I mean, I hadn't changed my ringtone. It was my ringtone that I always hear, and I just didn't recognize it. Your spatial awareness is, really bad. Multiple times when I was driving, now that I look back on it, I realize this was part of my disease. Not the fact that I was actually a bad driver. I've driven over dividers on the street. Hello, welcome to the broadcast. I've driven over the center divider because I couldn't estimate how wide I needed to make a turn, and that happened more than once. Driving into a driveway, turning into a driveway, I would hit the curb, and I've busted my tires, I've busted my rims. Parking against the sidewalk, I either park too close or park too far. So my spatial awareness is not that great. And a lot of people with Lyme disease have this problem. It can be like Alzheimer's. Lyme disease is called the great imitator, so it can imitate almost any disease out there. And speaking of that, it can also cause Parkinson's type symptoms, so you can get tremors. I know another gentleman that also had the same doctor I had, and he had tremors. He had shaking in his hands. He said, my hands would shake. I had to stop working. And he said, it was really, really bad. So it can be like Parkinson's. It can be like ALS. Certain muscles can go into paralysis. I have some similar symptoms like that, where I feel like the right side of my rib cage is sort of paralyzed. The muscles don't move properly, so that kind of causes breathing issues for me. And it's a horrible feeling to feel that your muscle just doesn't expand enough. It just doesn't move the way that it used to. And a lot of people with ALS have that, where their muscles just stop working one by one until their entire body stops functioning. So a lot of people with Lyme disease are misdiagnosed with ALS. And that's really scary because ALS is, you die within a few years. Hi, Lefty. Welcome. And, of course, getting away from the neurological stuff, you can have heart problems. You can die of cardiac arrest. Breathing problems. Severe fatigue and joint pain, which is the most common thing that people have with Lyme disease. And this is a short list. This is a short list of symptoms. There are people that lose the ability to talk. There are kids that develop autism. There are people that have, bowel problems, urinary problems, incontinence, just digestive issues, just chronic nausea, vomiting, constipation. I knew one person that had chronic diarrhea, and that can be deadly because you're just wasting away. You're constantly dehydrated because you've constantly got diarrhea, so this is just a short list. And Reader's Digest really, numbness is the least of your worries. If you have a little bit of numbness, I don't know what to tell you. Suicide is another big one. A lot of people think that suicide happens because people are depressed that they have this illness, but suicide happens because this disease is directly affecting your brain and your nervous system. So you kill yourself because the disease is modifying the way that your brain functions, not because you're sad that you have the disease. A really good documentary to watch. I have not seen it because of my neurological issues. I'm not able to see this documentary, but it shows some of the worst cases of Lyme disease. It's called Under Our Skin. I believe you can find it on Hulu if you're really interested in seeing it. And I believe you can watch it for free. It's called Under Our Skin, and it shows some really, really gnarly cases of Lyme disease. The girl that I talked about with paralysis from her neck up and the waist down, she's in it. There's another girl that has Parkinson's type symptoms. She has facial paralysis. There's a lot of really, really crazy cases in there, and they just made a sequel to it as well, I believe, and it came out last year around this time. So I would highly recommend that documentary. If you have a chance, please visit my YouCaring page, youcaring.com/Marisol has Lyme. There's more details about my own personal case of Lyme disease there. Follow me on Twitter, hotsun100384. Sometimes I'll share tweets about Lyme disease. I don't necessarily share too much about Lyme on my Twitter feed, with the exception of my Periscope. And I'll be doing this, like I said, once a day for the month of May. May is Lyme Awareness Month. So I should be back tomorrow. Thank you for the hearts. And that's it. That's all I've got for today. It's been a busy day. I've been really neglecting myself because I've been trying to do these scopes every day. So I got to get back to focusing on my own health and stuff because it's been really, really stressful. But I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with some more interesting stuff. And thank you for joining me, you guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the hearts. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care, Pierre.